The last group of cedars I'll be pruning up to date is my African Penjing, or my elephant diorama. Hey. Everything okay? Yeah. You moving out? There they go. I'm going to start by pruning these long shoots back. This is all the growth from last season, and you can see it's quite long in some areas. The tree grew really well. So I'll begin there, just pruning it back, making the tree more compact. And every time you prune it back, you get the new branches grow in, and you get more movement in your branches and your trunks and everything, and it makes the branches look really good. So I don't want any hanging foliage on this. It's designed to look like an African tree that's out in the desert, and the giraffes and elephants eat all these lower leaves, so I don't want anything hanging down. So I'm going to remove all this downward growth. I also want all the structure fanning outwards, so I don't want any, nothing growing towards the center of the tree, and I don't want branches crisscrossing and overlapping. So I'm keeping all that in mind as I'm pruning. And some of them I'm just going to, roughly prune them back for now. And then when I have a good look at the overall branch structure, I may take some back even further. These cedar branches, as they get longer, they naturally weep under their own weight. So by pruning them back, I keep the branches stronger and the weight off the tips, so they tend to grow a little more upright. At the back here, I've got two branches running parallel here, and this middle one, I've got some branches on top of that are growing more upright. So I'm going to remove this one completely. I don't need that branch there. I can replace it with some nicer branches up here. I've got a branch out front here that it forks here and it kind of grows across. I debated in the past taking that off. I probably reached the same conclusion. Just leave it on for now. It's not the worst branch in the world. That's the trouble. It sort of does fan out, and maybe a slightly different front to the tree would solve that. Maybe more looking in this direction. So I'll leave it on, because pretty major decision there, and maybe I can reduce some of these branches that cross in front of this trunk line over here more. There's one that comes straight off the top of this branch. I could take back, I will. Like that. That opens it up a little more in this direction. I'm starting to grow an apex up in top here, and it needs to be taller. It needs to be up to about here. It's down at this level and needs to be up about here to kind of fill this crown in more. So what I'll do is the branches on the outside edge, I'll prune those a little flatter, both the bottom and the top, to make it a thinner layer of the canopy. And that should make this canopy I'm developing on the inside here, stand up a little higher to give it a bit of a rounded shape on top. So branches like these, I'll prune away all this upright growth, pruning them back. All these branches on the top of the canopy get really good light up here, so they'll be really vigorous. And there's a lot of branches going in towards the center of the tree here that I'll have to remove. I've got one of these rocket branches here. You can tell, they shoot up with no foliage at all, and really straight sections, and not very useful in this design. So I'm going to remove that one entirely. Redistribute all that vigor into these other branches. So I'll continue working on this upper canopy, and you know, I think you kind of know what kind of decisions I make by now, and we'll come back and have a look at it all. As I've been working on the tree, I think there's a better front in here. Sort of here maybe, or maybe even on the opposite side, kind of making this the main trunk line, but still having that flat kind of canopy. So there's a lot of possibilities. When I go to repot this planting, I can maybe change this tree around, the orientation, so yeah, it just looks a little better from the front. So I'll keep that in mind as I'm pruning, not to, you know, spoil the design of the tree. I've always grown this planting in just this seed tray pot, and then Angel from Florida made this frame that goes around it, a wooden frame. And I've always thought, well, someday I'll put it in a kind of a shallow bonsai pot, and I do have this mica pot here. So it's a little longer than the current planting, but overall it's about the same size, it's about the same width, and you know, just a little longer. So might be a good possibility to repot it into this pot this spring. So for today, I'm just going to give it a rough pruning, because when and if I do go to repot it, I probably will tweak the trees a little, changing them around a bit. So that should be interesting. And I think a lot of this will be, you know, fairly easy to repot, because I do have a fairly shallow root system already. And it may allow me to get a bit of a change of terrain, so it's not just all flat. This was supposed to be my watering hole in the corner, so I can maybe build up this terrain higher and, you know, play around with elevations a bit. It should be quite fun. So look for that coming up. Today I'll just finish pruning up the tree. But yeah, I think it's time to put it into a shallow bonsai pot. So I'll continue to work away at the trees. There's a big dangling branch there that I don't think I want. I'll prune it back just short for now. The whipping branches are nice, but maybe not suited for this diorama. Now I don't want this overhanging too far, so I've got to maybe bring the apex back first on this tree. Maybe to here. Branch back. And reduce these shoots at this apex. And reduce this one back accordingly. Getting that sort of triangular shape. I'm going to take that even off shorter to there. I've kind of got a double apex here. I think I'll take off this upright one like that, and then I'll reduce this one down to here. That's looking much better. It's always nice, this light airy look to this section of the tree. Yeah, it's nice, this feathery kind of foliage and this light open structure. Looks really cool. I'm hoping that back tree, it's kind of got a straight section in it, and I think maybe from another angle it could look better. It's got some kind of lower branches at the back here, so maybe rotating that tree around can improve the look of that. But for now, I'm just going to get all this foliage and trim in check. Definitely spring is in the air. Everyone's out gardening today. Yeah, it's looking better. A few weeping branches back here I think I've got to prune back. I've got the 3 trees in the corner roughly pruned up. So now I'll start on these small ones. The one at the back and the one over here. Just pruning them up, getting them more compact. Really warm day today here. Starts off cool in the morning, but warms up nicely by the end of the day. One of the kind of days I like. Yeah, so you can see this tree a lot better now. So I think I got that roughly pruned up. As I said, I don't want to do too much until I do go to repot this. I think, you know, I'll be doing some rearranging and maybe finding some different fronts for some of the trees and, you know, just tweaking the design a bit. So I think that's going to do. I'll clean up and then we'll have a look at it all. I'll put the tree in the magic box here. Like this. Like that. Looks much better than just seeing a seed tray there. Let's fly in now and have a look at the planting. So it's quite overgrown. You can hardly see the elephants. Definitely looks like springtime or the wet season in Africa. Getting some nice texture and roots and that on these smaller trees. The sedum's growing wild back there again, which looks kind of cool. It looks like elephant bush growing there or something. So yeah, I really like it in this pot. So I don't know. I'm torn between repotting it into a shallow pot. Yeah, it's a hard decision whether to take it out of this pot. It is just a seed tray and doubled up seed tray with holes in the bottom for drainage. But I think the bonsai pot will give it more of a finished look, and it's a little longer, so as I said, I can play around with the elevation, making this more of a bog section down here and higher ground up here. You know, maybe have some sandy sections, and around the river or the water hole or the river can have some more green moss and more lush, and try and get that kind of contrast, showing that the river is the giver of life. Everything depends on water. So yeah, so that is it. My elephant penjing with my cedar trees is pruned up roughly. I wouldn't say it's complete until repotting time coming later this spring. That's all for today. I got 3 cedar plantings all pruned up and ready to grow for spring. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me today in the Bonsai Zone.